Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tuesday Notary Titans for Tuesday, October 27th, 2020. My name is Bill Soroka. I'm the founder of notarycoach.com and author of the Amazon best-selling book, Sign and Thrive, How to Make Six Figures as a Mobile Notary and Loan Signing Agent. And I'm excited to be here for Tuesday Notary Titans, or TNT call, on the last week of the month. It's end of month. I know it's pretty crazy for so many of us. So thank you for carving out the time to be here with us for this call-in style Q&A call. I have two co-hosts today, but I'm not sure exactly. We're not sure if Carol's going to be able to make it. Carol's in the midst of her move and her internet might be choppy. So she may pop in here. When she does, I'm sure she'll give us a heads up. We have Carol, that's Carol Ray from notary2pro.com. And then also we have Laura Biewer. And Laura, I think, is just running about 5 minutes late. So I'm going to talk kind of slowly to give her some time to join us. She is our resident expert in pretty much all things notary, but we lean on her for the specialty or the general notary work stuff. And she is the founder of CoachMeLaura.com. So real quick, before we get started, guys, I love that we already see hands going up. That is the way that we're going to get your questions answered. So if you know how to use the hand raise option, please do that now. If you don't know how to use it, you can ask in the chat. We have amazing people here that will help you, and I'm going to walk through it right now. So if you hover your mouse over my face right now, it's going to open up a toolbar on the bottom of the screen, and you can select participants. When you select participant, it's going to open up a tab on the right side of the screen, and your name should be on top. You can select more, raise hand. Depending on the version of Zoom you might have, you might actually just have a little bar in the middle of your participant screen that says raise hand. So you can do that too. I can see you guys have found that. Awesome. Lots of questions already. So we're going to jump in and try to get to as many of these questions as possible. I'm just going to check in on Laura here real quick. There she is. So I'm going to make her co-host. Laura, thank you so much for being here. Are you ready for us yet? She may not be quite ready. That's okay, guys.
Okay, now I'm not muted.
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
So
okay, hi everybody. It's an exciting day.
It is. Well, Laura, thank you so much for being here, and only 3 minutes late, not the expected 5 minutes. That's what I love about you. You under promise and over deliver on just about everything. I love it. So tell me real quick, Laura, we have a lot of questions to get to today, and I want to make sure we get to as many as possible, but what are you excited about this week?
I am excited that people got their welcome boxes. If anybody on the line got theirs, yay. Most of them should be delivered by now. Bill, did you get yours?
I did. I got mine over the weekend. I'm excited about it. I have not cracked it open yet. I know I'll spread it around if I open it now, so I'm going to wait probably until Thursday or Friday, right before the event.
So anyways, I'm very excited about that and all the buzz as people are showing pictures of it on their feed. So thank you very much. I'm glad you're enjoying it. What else is exciting? I don't know, just that, you know what? I'm upright and breathing. That's a good reason to be excited, right? And my word for today, or my phrase for today is, what if it could be easy? What if it could be easy?
Awesome. Well,
not everything has to be complicated. Exactly. So as I move through my day, I'm thinking, okay, what if this could be easy?
I love that. All right. Thank you for sharing that. And then I'm going to share something I'm excited about this week too, guys, because it's, and I'm going to mute everybody again because we got some background noise. That's just a good opportunity to remind everybody too, please keep yourselves on mute until you're called upon. When you are called upon, start off with the state that you're in. That really helps us give you the best advice. And then also just dive right into your question. And then if Laura, Carol, or myself need additional information, we will ask you for a little bit of backstory. Okay, so what I'm excited about and what I need some of your help with, if you guys are interested in, is we have been working over the last several months to write my second book, It is Supercharge Your Notary Business with LinkedIn. We're finally done. We're at like the 11th round of edits. So that's going to be launching on November 7th. I have an amazing launch team that's already filled up, but I know just because end of month and the busyness of the time right now, we're probably going to need some additional help. So if you're interested in being on the book preview team, I would love to have you on there. It's super easy to be a part of it. We really just need you to read the book, write an honest review about it, and post it to Amazon at specific times. If this sounds like something that's right up your alley, I would love it if you just use the link that is in the chat window here. It's just notarycoach.com/launch team. That will get you at least registered for that, and I can communicate with you with the details via email. No pressure to do it. No pressure to, if you sign up and you can't follow through, like this is a judgment-free zone. I know how it goes, but you guys have been wonderful. I'll always count on you for support. And if you want to be a part of it, let's do it. Okay, so let's now I'm gonna mute everybody again because we're getting some background noise. Guys, I'd love to leave that ability for you to unmute yourselves in your hands, so please be conscientious of whether or not you're on mute so we don't get that background noise. Okay, Terry Weston, I saw your hand up way before, like 20 minutes before we even started. So I want to make sure we get kicked off the right way. So Terry, you want to unmute, tell us what state you're in, and ask your question. Oh, Carol.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, sure can.
I'm in Washington State, and I just did a seller's signing yesterday, and I'm in Washington, and the seller signed in Florida or sold in Florida. Okay. So on the deed of trust in Washington, we don't do witnesses. But so I sent them the scans, and they sent me an email back saying that it has to be witnessed because of Florida. So isn't it under, because we're doing the notarization in Washington, don't we go by Washington rules? How does that work?
Great question, Terry. And so, yeah, when it comes to notarization, yes, absolutely, you would follow the rules of Washington. However, if there is a lender that has a special rule that they want things done differently because they are trying to comply with another state's law, it is their responsibility to convey that to you in their instructions. You can't be expected to know the notary laws for all 50 states. Or their recording laws for all 50 states. So that needed to have been conveyed to you in the instructions, whether in the order ahead of time or in the details, the notary instructions, which it usually is. Now I say usually because there's a lot of lenders that just do not communicate at all, and closing agents, and everybody's busy right now, so it may have slipped through the cracks, but that was their responsibility to convey that. Carol, Laura, do you have a different perspective or different suggestions on this?
I just want to say that what you're talking about is a recording issue, not a notarization issue. There are about 5 or 6 states that the recording of conveyances require witnessing, which doesn't have anything to do with the notarization requirements. So you are going to follow your state's rules for everything. And you're only going to worry about a witness if the property is in a state that needs to be recorded where there are witnessing requirements, because that's a recording requirement. So I just want you to separate the two.
Okay, so if it was not a problem to go back this morning, it wasn't that far out of my way, but I've been doing a lot of signings where like it's an hour drive. So if they hadn't stipulated that in the instructions, then it would have been okay to request a trip fee to get that witnessed.
Well, I mean, I think that's a business decision. Okay. That you would need to consider based on how far was it to go, based on the relationship you have with this company, the relationship you have with this. There's just a lot of considerations, but yes, you could if you decided.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
There's something I would like to interject if it's all right. If you can hear me.
Yeah, sure can. Go ahead.
Hi. Yeah, I did some research on this recently because I have a lot of Florida graduates, And it's my understanding that they recently changed the law. It does not include witnesses for security instruments. It does on conveyance instruments. So in other words, on deeds, anytime that the property is being conveyed, they still do require witnesses. But it's my understanding from my research that they no longer require it on security instruments. And those companies that are still asking for it are mistaken. I could be wrong, but I did do some research on this just recently, the last couple of months.
So Carol, you are right. I saw the same thing. And just so people understand, because not everybody understands the difference. You know, if you have a grant deed, a quitclaim deed, an interspousal deed, these are the kinds of deeds that are still going to require witnessing. But that deed of trust is not. And so that shouldn't have required it. Although I do know this, the other thing is sometimes I'm asked to do things in a signing, such as do 3 sets of disclosures or other things that I think, why do you need 3 originals, or why do you need me to do that? And I always remember in the end that it's not my job to question why they want something. I could certainly share, I understand that that's not required for this kind of document anymore. Did you still need me to go do that? And then they could make a decision. And if they say, yeah, we want that, okay, that's fine. I can do that for you. It's an hour drive, so there'll be a fee for that, you know, or whatever your business decision is.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've been telling my graduates, exactly that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great question. Great scenario, Terry. Thanks for bringing that up. All right, Luca Variali, thanks for being here.
That's right, Variale. Hello, Bill. Hello, Laura, Carol. I'm a new notary in a way. I wanted to do this for 10 years, but you know, because I was traveling, then was not a good time. Now, actually, because of the Corona, staying at home, I realized, well, why not right now, you know? So I did the exam in September, but you know, they're so behind. So I'm gonna wait like maybe 2 months before I get the commission. So right now I'm reading a lot. And my question is really more a theoretical question, a what if situation. So is the timing when you write, you know, you need to, of course, you know, sign and date the document. Is that at the start of the session or at the end? The situation is when, you know, you start something, I don't know, let's say 10 p.m. and get longer during like, you know, 2 hours. And then you get some document you need to sign, and what if like it's already the next day for a few minutes? So of course I don't want to lie in a document. I don't want to tell the guy, hey, you need to sign yesterday. What do you guys suggest in this very rare theoretical situation?
Great question. And Luca, just so we stay consistent, tell us what state you're in.
California.
In California. So I'll answer a little bit, and then I'd love to hear Laura's perspective on this too. But this is a per document. So when the document is signed, that's what you would date the document. So just because a loan signing starts a couple hours before midnight, it might end afterwards. Whatever documents are signed on that day or this day, that's what needs to be reflected on the documents. And then the journal entries are the same way too, especially in California when you have a particular line item for each and every notarized document. The time and the date needs to be accurate on that. Laura, do you agree with that, or do you have a different perspective?
I do agree with that. And I've had late night appointments. And when I'm in a late night appointment, I'm proactive. So I'm not in that situation. And I take care of all the notarized documents first and get those handled. So then we can, you know, beat the clock, so to speak.
Excellent. Great, Luca. Great perspective. Welcome back to the industry, or just welcome to taking it on full time. Glad you're here. Marianne LaSalle, thank you so much for being here. You want to unmute, tell us what state you're in, and ask your question.
Sure. Hi, I'm Marion, and I'm from Texas, Houston, and that's a country all in itself, right?
Right.
I think we have 7 million people here now. It's like time to leave. Anyway, my question is about a printer. So I'm brand new. I don't really know, but everybody keeps telling me I need a brother, and I did put it in the chat over here to, so you would have everything. I know you can't see it, so let me just read it to you. It's a Brother HLL6200 DWT wireless monochrome laser printer with duplex printing and dual paper trays.
So that
Is that
sounds
the one
like
I want?
so it's typically the one that I usually recommend is the Brother HLL 6200 dual tray. That's the important part. Now these are hard to come by right now. And really, you might have a preference for HP. I know Carol loves HP. I'm a Brother fan. And some play well with Apple, some don't. So you might get your own. But that one in particular sounds like the one that I recommend. What you just want to
It's
keep
on
in
sale.
mind.
All of a sudden it's on sale. So I'm going to get it. It's
You
on
might as well
Amazon right
jump
this
on it.
minute.
Yeah, you might. And after you get yours, we'd love to hear where you found it too, and found it on sale
Exactly.
too. So maybe share that with everybody. But
Well, it
guys,
comes on and goes off. I belong to a group where we all talk to each other, and somebody just typed in, it's back on. So
awesome.
it's like, oh my God, I better
Yeah.
get it. But I wanted to make sure it was the right one first.
Yeah, it sounds like it is the HLL 6200, brother, and then the dual tray part.
Okay.
That's the important part. And then Regina posted too. She has the MFSC or MFC L5700 all in one. You'll get all kinds of different perspectives, but that one, Marion, is the one that I recommend there. Thank you. Lori Huber, thank you so much for being here. Want to unmute, tell us what state and what's going on. There you are.
There I am. Hi there. Thanks for taking my call. I'm Lori from California. And my question is for you, Bill. Because I've got a refi here. I'm signing in California, but it's for Arizona, Scottsdale. And I want to know your opinion on replacing the deed of trust acknowledgement for California, because they're including the trustee verbiage. And I know I can cross it out and initial it, but what does Arizona, what does Arizona prefer? To cross it out and initial it, or replace it with our California? Because our California acknowledgement will allow us to include that they did sign as a trustee on our, at the bottom in our, what do you call it?
Additional information.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so in my experience, I've done it both ways. We've replaced complete certificates and we've struck through and corrected. And I've never had anything rejected.
So it goes through fine either way.
I think so. I think you'd be fine.
Okay.
Laura, do you have a best practice though for other people listening that you would recommend?
When it comes to property, like a deed of trust, I try everything I can legally to keep that certificate. It just tends to land better when it's going to get recorded later in that state. So if I have the choice of doing a single strike and that's all I have to do, I would keep that certificate over replacing it.
My only problem with that in this particular certificate is it's really hard to fit in an initial where I strike through.
Okay, so you'll have to make that decision. I'm just saying, on the whole, if I can hold on to that certificate and it works, it's functional, then great. That's my preference over replacement. But if I can't, because there's no room for my stamp, because I can't strike an initial, whatever, then I would replace it.
Perfect. Thank you. Could I follow up with just an additional thing on that?
Yeah.
So if I were to replace the certificate on one Arizona acknowledgement, should I be consistent in replacing them all, or does it matter?
No, every document stands on its own merit.
Great.
If that's the only one I got to fix, that's the one I got to fix.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep. Great questions, Lori. Thank you for being here. Quintus Pinder. Thanks for being here. You want to unmute, tell us your state, and ask your question.
Hi, yes. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for taking my question. I live in New York State in a largely metropolitan area. And because I live in a large metropolitan area like New York City, we have very few people drive cars. We all rely mainly on public transportation. So because I'm new in this business, I'm wondering if it's practical at all to be a loan signing agent and not have a vehicle to get around. And then my second question is also, because I'm new, would having a second business telephone number be ideal, or do people generally use their own personal number to make contacts?
All right, excellent. Thank you. Two great questions. I'm going to answer the first one or the second one first, because that's the only one I can remember right now. A lot of people prefer to use like a Google Voice or have a separate business line. I've used Google Voice, I've used Grasshopper, I've used eVoice. I've gone through the whole gamut of these, and I've ended up just landing on my own personal cell phone. And I really think it's just personal preference on that. And I would love if somebody in the chat, if you add in your preference, maybe the reason why you prefer whichever direction you go. But for me, it was just ended up being just another piece of technology that I had to manage, and it took the enjoyment out. Now, there were some big perks like Google Voice. People leave voicemails, and I would get an email that was kind of a loose transcription of what they would say, and I found that really helpful. But it also has its kinks and its downsides as well, too. Laura, do you have an opinion on that?
Yeah, 16 years I've used my personal cell phone. Maybe I do it different today, but I like it. It's just one phone. I barely can handle that. And my message says text me if I haven't picked up. So I'm getting the text anyways when it's business. So it's no issue for me. And then I remember his first question, which is he doesn't have a vehicle and he's in New York. So, does it make sense to be a loan signing agent? I say 100% yes. There's more than one way to get around. People bike it. In San Diego, they're doing it on bikes. You can do it using that, bus or the subway. You just need to have good planning about that. And, I've been in New York and the car doesn't even move. I would think you'd get there much faster, either walking or riding, or taking the subway, an alternate form of transportation. You're just hauling your backpack, with all your stuff. So I wouldn't let that be a circumstance to get in the way.
I totally agree with this.
Bill,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, go right ahead, Carol.
I have graduates in New York. And they're doing extremely well. And Quintus, I think you're one of my graduates, are you not? Or a student?
Yes, Carol. Yes, I am.
Yes, I thought so. I think when you and I talked, I told you the people that are you're in Manhattan, I believe, right?
No, I'm in Queens. New York.
Queens, that's right.
Yes.
Listen, you got a great future ahead of you, and I'm seeing people there that are making $300 on signings instead of the 100, 150 here. New York is a great place to get around. Subway's terrific. So no, go to it, and don't forget, we're here for you.
Thank you very much, Carol and Bill for answering. Laura for answering my question.
Quiet now.
Yeah, no problem. And so guys, that's the thing. There is always a way to make this business work. Even though it makes sense to use public transportation in New York, there are some states where we would think that it does not make sense to use public transportation, to take a bus or to rent a car. But when we have people doing it, the drain's big enough to pull them through. They're going to find a way to make this business work. Sure, it eats away at your profits in the beginning, but you get enough volume, you get enough experience, and this business just unfolds. This business, like any type of drain, it favors momentum, it favors action. And when you find a way to take that action, it really does open up for you. Quintus, thank you so much, and good luck in your business.
Thank you.
Clyde, I'm going to take one more question, and then you're going to be up, Clyde. We got a real brief presentation coming up next, real brief, but one of our fellow notaries has invented and designed an awesome new product to help notaries out, and they want to give them a little bit of a platform because they need your help to help get some information and some data on that. And so Clyde, you're going to go next right after Shanna Harris from Texas. How's it going, Shanna?
Hi, you guys. Can you hear me?
Sure can.
Okay. So whoever would like to answer this question. My question is in regards to last wills and testament. I have Laura's library event.
Shanna, can I just stop you for 1 minute?
Yes.
Something changed in your voice. So as soon as you said, can you hear me? I could hear you fine, and now I can't. It sounds like you're really far away.
Do I sound far away
There
still?
you go. You're back. Okay, thank you. Right here. Keep that.
Okay. So I just recently did a last will and testament, and I have Laura's library presents, and I watch it like constantly. However, the young lady who will I was doing did not have the self-proven affidavit within the will, and I know we're not supposed to suggest things, but my question is, should it have been in there? She printed it off herself, like I guess like LegalZoom or something.
Great question, Laura. In Texas, can you touch on that?
Yeah, that typically Texas, I see it, that it's there, but you know what? It's not our job to indicate that they have the document that's right for them. And there is more than one version of a last will and testament. So if she's coming to you to have it notarized, remember that we have to have those two witnesses first, right? So it has to be witnessed. You can't replace notarization for that. And it's fine to just notarize. If she wants it notarized, to just ask her, how would you like it notarized? I can perform an acknowledgement on your signature and prove that you're the person who signed your will. I can do it just for you. I can do it for your witnesses as well. I can perform a jurat where you swear that what you signed is truthful, and I can do that for you, and or I can do that for your witnesses. What would you like? So I just offer up the options that as I know them, and then let the signer decide what would be right for her, because what I know doesn't matter, right? What's important is what does she want, because I'm not an attorney, so I cannot advise her, but I can tell her what the options are and the services I can perform for her.
Okay. The witnesses, I did provide witnesses for her, and then there was a subscribed and sworn statement within the notaries. That was the pre-certificate that was there. So I went that route, but I was just wondering if it should have been in there. But okay, that's great.
It could have been an attestation clause instead. I don't, she downloaded it, so we don't know what state she put in to get the last will and testament. And of course, different online legal services can provide different things. So, we don't know.
Okay, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Shannon. Thanks for being here. Laura, now I'm going to bring up Clyde here, but I'd actually like you to introduce him in the new journal and what your take is on Clyde in this project that he's taken on.
Thanks, Bill. I'm really excited for Clyde. He has been working on a new journal that would be specifically helpful for NSAs, but he didn't just take what's already out there and make a few changes to it. He turned it on its side. He's just an incredible, I never would have thought to do that. So it was very imaginative. And for those of us who do specialty work, there are lots of things he's included in there, prompts for us so that we do a better job.
I was just gonna ask, like, do this one has to be empty too?
Hold on, I'm sorry.
Can we get her phone? There we go. So I had an opportunity, Clyde trusted me to work with him a little bit on this, and he really has done a fantastic job. I think it will be of value, and I'm really happy that we have an opportunity to help one of our own be imaginative and do something on themselves, and we don't have to wait for a large corporation, to come up with something for us that we know we are the highest authority about what we need, right? Because we do the work. So I'm very excited today to introduce you, Clyde. And Clyde, please, it's Missouri, is it?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you, Missouri. Tell us about what you're doing.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's really kind words. And then, Bill, can I share my screen?
Yeah, you can here. One moment. There you go. Sorry about that.
Okay. There we go. Excellent. Are we seeing my screen?
We are. You're
excellent.
I'm not.
Wow, awesome. I love technology. Thank you again to Bill, Carol, and Laura for allowing me this few minutes. Basically, what I want to do is to ask you for your help to become a beta tester for the new journal. And so in getting there, I just wanted to quickly give you an understanding of how I came to develop the journal itself. When I started being a notary signing agent, I was intimidated. And when I went to the journal, I was intimidated again. And I looked at my state's requirements here in Missouri, and they outlined a few things that I needed to document. But beyond that point, I was really pretty much at a loss. So what I started to do was to go through what were considered best practices or standards of care when it comes to journaling. And it was kind of one of those situations where pieces would be revealed at different points in time. There were these little aha moments of, oh, I should be doing that. So as I started to incorporate those things into my practice, what quickly happened was the format of the existing journals that I was trying all of a sudden began to have problems for me because the spaces weren't large enough. I mean, it's not like I write with a crayon, but nonetheless, I was having difficulty actually filling out some of those pieces, overrunning entry areas, things that I wanted to capture. And so what I found out that I was doing was I was just using up multiple entry spots for one signing. And so what I did then was to take what I wanted to do in a journaling exercise and create a journal for that. And what I refer to it as a signing in a view. So it's consistent of an upper and a lower page within the journal. And so you'll see all of the normal things that we would expect to be there, you know, the date and time of the notarization, who is the signer, how were they identified, all of those typical things that we would expect to see. What's different is then that I put in a place for us as notaries, cues around willingness and competence. So what I found when I was out, and in particular early on, I would go through a signing and it would be like, oh yeah, I should have really jotted down how mentally alert that person was and how I did that. So having those cues up front started to help me capture that information more real time and make sure that I actually did those things within my practice. Then also there's a place to put in what is the format of the notarization. So that might be like a paper notarization, which is our typical format. But like in the state of Missouri here, if I do a remote online notarization, I'm still required to capture that information in my paper journal, even though I have an electronic journal. Additional places then to include where it's the signing location and who else was there. And then one of the things that I found to be most helpful was if I've administered an oath, a place for that signer then to actually place their initials, indicating that they had received the oath. So that's what I mean by this simple signing within the 2 pages. And you can just open it up then and see everything that happened in that signing itself. So what I'm looking for is some helpers, people to help me review and use the journal, most importantly. So I'm looking for people who are active NSAs, loan signing agents. And what we can do is we'll put into, I guess, the chat, the link to the sign up sheet. Just go out there and sign up. I'm planning to hold a kickoff this coming Sunday evening at 5. And what I'm asking for then is that you'd be willing to commit to a period of 2 weeks time of at least using the journal. And so that means for some of us, depending upon our states, like for me in Missouri, I'm only allowed to have 1 active journal at a time. So you would need to then retire your existing journal before beginning to using this journal. So your state may have requirements around that. If not, what I do is I just follow what's recommended by the NNA. I just literally go to the entry below my last entry, block it out and say end, and then every sheet thereafter striking through. So it makes it very clear when that journal ended. For participating, I will provide you a free copy of the journal. And what I would ask him back is to use it, and then also to provide me with some feedback through a very, very short survey that will come out toward the end of the second week, as well as to write an honest Amazon review for the journal. So that's my ask of you. I would certainly appreciate it. Any help that you could give me, I thank you.
Clyde, thank you so much for that. I'm going to stop sharing there. I've got the link posted in the chat window. Guys, this is what, Clyde, you put a lot of work into this. I really appreciate it. And thank you for always coming from a place of value here. If you have any questions for Clyde, I'm going to encourage you to please, hold on, guys, 1 second. We got lots of people that are unmuting, guys. Please keep yourself on mute for me so I don't have to go through and do all this. So this industry is ripe for innovation, guys. There's always room for improvement on all kinds of things here. And this is just an example of one. So if you want to participate and help Clyde out, help him get the information that he needs to make this an awesome product, please sign up for the beta group. That's exactly what a beta group does, guys. It kind of plays with the invention or the product or whatever it might be and helps find the little ways that it can be improved before we take it to market. So Clyde, congratulations. Thanks for your efforts on that one. All right.
And Bill, I'd like to ask Clyde a question if I can. This is Carol.
Sure.
Clyde, I apologize. I haven't been able to get to it because of the move, but I'd like to ask you if when you're ready to publish and it's ready to go, if you would allow us to add it to our merchants page on the graduates website. I don't take any money from our merchants, but I'd sure like to offer it as a discount to our graduates.
Oh, I would be
How
honored.
would you feel about that?
I would be very honored to do that. And I certainly appreciate it, Carol. I know that you are in the middle of that move, so no problem whatsoever.
Thank you.
All right, awesome.
Yay!
Oh, yeah. All right, let's move on. Thanks again, Clyde. Really appreciate that. I'm going to keep posting the link in there, guys. And remember, the chat can be saved now. If you're on a PC or computer or laptop or something, I understand it doesn't work for mobiles, but it does work when you're on a computer. In the chat window, there's 3 little dots in the lower right-hand corner. You just click those and it says Save Chat, and it will save this whole chat for you. Okay, let's dive back in. Susanna from California, you're up next. What's your question?
Hi, can you hear me?
Sure can.
Okay, so my question is, if I forget to stamp an acknowledgement and the lender sends it back to me, or the signing agent sends it back to me and says, can you stamp it and do a new one? Do I use a date that I'm returning it or the date that I signed?
So are you saying, you said stamp it and do a new one. So is it stamped the one that you made a mistake on and forgot, or are you creating an entirely new acknowledgement?
Well, I would do a whole new acknowledgement.
Okay.
So do I use a date that I saw them or the date that I'm redoing it?
Like
Does that make sense?
it. Laura, what does California say? Laura B. Did we lose Laura?
Yeah, no, I'm here. I was muted because I follow instruction. I stay muted when I'm not talking.
You're so
All right,
good.
so Susanna, in California, we do not have provision that instructs us the right way to correct a certificate when it's been rejected. So that means we have to redo the entire acknowledgement. We have to meet with the signers a second time, and it will be the date that you meet with them the next time that will go in that acknowledgement.
Okay, so it won't be the same date that I met the first time.
No, it will not, because you're doing it again. And that means you'll need another document because you probably no longer have access to the original and you need an original signature. So you could reprint the document, have them sign it again, create the acknowledgement, and then send it back. But your acknowledgement will now have a new date.
Got you. So no, don't backdate it.
That's correct, because if you do, it's a felony offense in California.
Right. Okay.
All right.
Thank
and make
you.
sure you create a new journal entry as well.
Oh, thank you.
All Right. Great question. Happens to all of us.
Mhm.
Kimberly, Nunnally, thanks for being here. You want to unmute, tell us what state you're in and ask your question.
Hi, yes, this is my husband, Jeffrey.
Hey, guys.
And I to thank you all for, I'm kind of new to this. I started back in July, August, and I finally just read your book. I got the Kindle version. So I want to thank you for that. And then Laura with all the general notary, and then Carol too about being a husband and wife team. I think about me and my husband.
Awesome.
So I thank you all for what you're doing. This is very, very priceless to us. My question is about pricing. I have a difficult time sticking to my price. I waver, and I had a couple people say, well, I think that's too much. I've done maybe like 50 general notary assignments, and I often waver again about, is it too much? Just backtracking. Yeah, should I, if I get one or two people kind of give me pushback, then I'm like, oh, I need to change my pricing. So and then how to explain it to them so they can see the value in what we provide would be my question, I guess.
I think that's awesome. And I would love to hear Laura's take on this too. And I'll interject kind of my thinking and my philosophy a little bit too. Number one is, to me, when somebody calls and the first question out of their mouth is, how much is it going to cost? Because that's almost always the first question. What I know about consumers and just people is that's not really the question. The real question, what they really need is somebody who knows what they're doing, who can solve their problem for them. And they think that being a notary is just stamping a piece of paper and then their challenge or their obstacles out of the way. But there's a lot more to it. So I like to ask probing questions. I like to get a little more familiar with the situation. If it's appropriate, I'd like to throw in a cheesy joke and see if I can get people laughing a little bit. If it's not appropriate, I like to empathize and let them know that I understand the situation, because a lot of times, remember, we're meeting people on their best days and their worst. So sometimes they need a little empathy. And one of my favorite questions to ask is, do you need a witness for that? And their answer almost all the time is going to be no. Why would I need a witness? And that gives me an opportunity to demonstrate some expertise. Like many of these types of documents might require a witness. Do you have a moment to take a look at that? Then I've established myself as the solver of problems, not a stamper of documents. So then when we get to the price, it's no longer about, shopping at Walmart for the 99-cent notary. Now they've got the expert. So then when I talk price, they realize there's more to this, and I get very little pushback. Now I still will, because look, I'm not driving 50 miles for $10. That's just not going to happen. So maybe I'm not the right notary if price is really driven. But this also gives them an opportunity to share some of their story. So then I can say, you know what? This person needs me. They need a deal right now. Maybe this is a deathbed situation. Maybe this is an emergency adoption, or emergency situation to escape a situation or whatever. So that gives me a chance to have that conversation. Laura, what do you say on this? Because this is right up your alley.
Yeah, I don't get it very often, but when I do, I don't waver because, this is the value for myself. And I've placed a value on the service that I'm providing, and I know what that service is about. As Bill said, they may not understand that. And two things that I think Bill mentioned, I think are important. And one is to ask questions to better understand what they really need and what their situation is. One, it lets me know if there is extenuating circumstances, number one. But number two, it gives me the opportunity to use my experience and skill to help them have a successful assignment. And when they start hearing me ask all these questions, they start realizing on their own, this is a little more complex than what I thought. I thought, why do you need ID? Some people don't realize they need ID, and it needs to, in my state, needs to be valid. Why do you need a witness? That was a great question that Bill put out there, because I need to know, are we going to have other people there? Is that witness going to need to be notarized or not? Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. Sometimes it's a document that's an either or statement, healthcare directives, 2 witnesses or 1 notary. But if you do witnesses, they cannot be related to you. So when the more information you have at your disposal to help them understand, this isn't a point and sign and stamp deal. the less likely they are to say, well, I don't want to spend that much money on it.
Yeah, awesome. Kimberly, how does that land? Does that feel okay?
Yes, it does. It does sound good. I was just going to ask if I may just one more thing too. So, I have a semi-mentor here, and he explained to me a lot of times when it comes to what to put for my fee. My whole everything was wrong fee. I don't know why, but so he puts value to the paper. So, like, if it's a will versus just a basic school form, I should charge more for that. Sometime in my mind, I think, well, I'm still just, I might have to change my mindset. Just stamping a paper, you know, do I charge $100 for a wheel versus still just my travel fee? What do you call it? Do you call it travel fee? I was listening to something else. I heard convenience fee. I'm just, pricing seems to be my problem.
Sure, and it's very convoluted in some states. So remind me, Kimberly, what state are you in?
I'm sorry, I forgot to say, we're in Georgia, outside of Atlanta. So we're in a suburb. It's not a lot of, I sometimes wish I lived right in the city since I'm doing my business, but out here where I'm at is not a lot of, a lot of business. I think if I was right in the city, it would really be, booming. But yeah, we're in Georgia though.
Okay, all right. So general rule is the state mandates in most states what you can charge for the notarization. So if all you're going to do is do a notarization, it'll tell you, your state, the $2 fee, plus it'll give you maybe some guidance on what you can charge for a convenience or a travel fee. What you can do is some market research and find out what some of the other notaries in your area are calling it, find out what they're charging. You can look at their websites if they have good websites. A lot of notaries don't yet, but you can do a little bit of that, but you always want to make sure you're still in compliance with the law. And then when it comes to individual documents, for the most part, if all you're doing is the notarization, it doesn't matter what the document is. A notarization is a notarization. So you can't charge more for this type of document because you want to. It can't be all willy-nilly like that. There has to be some basis for it. And we have like loan signings, right? Loan signings, we're presenting documents, we're traveling, we're printing. So we get to charge a lot more because we're doing a lot more than just stamping and signing and validating ID. There's a lot more to it. Living trust appointments and some of the estate planning appointments are kind of like that too. And Laura will probably speak to that as well. Because if you're presenting documents, there's a little more responsibility there, so you're charging for those types of things. But when it comes to just the notarization, you're mandated by the state fees. Laura, do you have anything else to any other perspective that can help?
Yeah, I think what you said is exactly right. But what I want to add is where the difference might come in is how much more expertise do you need to have to handle what they're asking for? And did you have to invest in yourself more to handle that kind of situation? So if somebody just has a single document, they just want me to notarize it, it's the fee plus my travel fee. This morning, before I came here, I had a client with a trust document, a certification of trust, the last will and testament, the advanced healthcare directive, and power of attorney. So all of those different documents. Now there was no attorney. They did this, on their own, or the kids did it for them. And they really were having a hard time understanding, what they were doing. And so I said, look, I'm very familiar with these and I can walk you through each one of these because I know how to do it. I've had training how to do that. And if you want me to do that for you, here's what my fee will be for that. If you just need me to stamp and sign these things because you're good to go, I know it won't take me as long. See, it's really about my time. It's going to take me more time than it's going to cost them more. If they need to leverage more by expertise so that they have hit all the right places, then I'm going to charge more versus somebody else who they had it done by their attorney. They know exactly what they're doing. They're really just needing me to notarize. So that's part of that assessment of what do they need from me? And the more they need from me, the more expertise and service and skill they need from me, then the more I'm going to want to charge to leverage that. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much for your answers.
All right, great questions, Kimberly. Thanks for being here. Nice to meet you both.
Same here.
All right, Ann Flanagan, it looks like you're in Texas. How's it going? You want to unmute and ask your question?
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure can.
Okay, great. My question is, what is the difference between an electronic notarial act and remote online notarization? I was looking through the NNA's Texas U.S. Notary reference, and I see two separate sections. It says electronic notarial acts, and then it actually says that they are not the same thing as an online notarization.
Right, exactly. And I've noticed as remote online notarization and all the other kind of electronics, the RINs and the electronics are coming out, it depends on how you define it. Laura, would you like to crack this open? She's probably on mute. She's a rule follower.
I go right back into mute. I've been trained. So when it's an electronic notarization, really what it means is that the notarization is being performed on a computer or a laptop of some kind rather than paper. However, all the rules of traditional notarization are still the same. You're in front of your signer. You are together in the same room at the same time, and they're physically appearing before you. But instead of signing your name and affixing your stamp on a paper, you're doing it with an electronic seal, an electronic signature. Remote online notarization means that we are in different places. It could be down the street, it could be down the next city, it could be in another state entirely or another country entirely. We are meeting remotely via electronic means, and that's how we're going to see each other, kind of how we're meeting today via electronic means, although there's a platform that's utilized that's secure to facilitate seeing the document and notarizing that document. And that's really the biggest difference between the two, is an electronic document doesn't have to have a platform. You're together, you're physically in front of them. I would use Adobe Pro, and I have an electronic seal and signature so that I'm capable in California of doing that. And it's legal in California to do that as long as the signer personally appears, physically appears in front of me. Remote notarization is not legal for me because that means they were not in front of me. And I would have had to use some kind of platform to facilitate that identification. Does that help explain the two?
It does. So if I remember correctly, I probably would, if I wanted to do electronic notarization, I need to go to the Secretary of State's office to apply for an electronic seal. Is that correct?
I believe you do need to have permission to have an electronic seal, but I would have to look that up to verify. If you did, that's all it is so that you could get the electronic seal. You don't have to do anything else in terms of a platform or any other requirements if you're not going to use it for remote.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right.
And I'd like to add something to that, if I may, for all of the Texans out there. One of my graduates for years ago, her name is Phyllis Traylor. She has My San Antonio Notary. You can look her up, and she is doing training on both the notarizations and the RON. And I believe she's actually developing her own platform. So that might be of interest to you.
A great suggestion, Carol. Thank you.
Awesome. Great question, Ann. Thanks for bringing that up. There's lots of questions. I see some comments in the chat to re-explain that. We'll send out the replay, guys, and you can kind of watch that over again. Otley Holmes, thank you so much for being here. Otley, you want to unmute, tell us what state you're in, and ask your question.
Hi, everyone. I'm in the state of Arizona. I'm new to this business. I'm so new, I'm still waiting for my original commission to come from the state. But you kind of addressed some of the questions with Kimberly. I know here in Arizona, $10 is the max for the stamp, and I think it's 44.5 cents for travel. So my question is, as a mobile notary, not an NSA yet, as a mobile notary, is there any additional other things that we can charge for? Because I mean, if you go 5 miles, it's like $2.22, plus the 10. So I mean, you're not going to make a grip of money, you may be running yourself in the hole in the beginning doing mobile notary work since the fees are so small. So my question was, how do you invoice and what are some of the fees that may be attached as a mobile notary?
Great question, Otley. In Arizona, and I know if you ask some of the notaries here that are advertising $95 trip fees, you might get a different answer, but it's pretty clear cut here in Arizona. There is no other fees. It is $10 maximum per notarial act and whatever the federal reimbursement, federal employee reimbursement rate is on mileage, which is about 44.5 cents. Now, on the surface, that might look like it's hard to generate any revenue doing that, but I can tell you that the majority of my general notary work appointments, and I'm based here in Arizona, around $100. You know, I don't have a whole lot of rules about distance I'm willing to travel, and many of these forms, especially in estate planning, they require more than one notarial act. I think a lot of people get hung up on just $10 is the max, and then that's it. But a lot of documents require much more than one notarial act. So most of my appointments are averaging about $100 on that, and that's about what, you know, that's the average of a loan signing fee too. So it works out. And then here's the other perspective I like to offer too, guys, is if we think transactionally, and we just think about $10 plus 44 cents per mile round trip, it may not feel all that exciting, but I encourage everybody to think not transactional, but more relationship. Everybody who needs a notary once will need a notary again, or they're going to know somebody that does need one at some point. There's a huge opportunity here to build a lifetime customer with one single appointment. And I've demonstrated this over and over again, and already we have all kinds of notaries that now get repeat business from people. You never know who you're sitting across the table from. And if you have too many rules that say, you know what, I'm not getting out of bed for less than $50 or $100 or $150 or $200, as some notaries do, you miss out on a lot of opportunities, because maybe it's going to be a $15 appointment for selling a vehicle. But that person might be selling a vehicle because they have 7 cars already and only a 7-car garage, and they can't fit the 8th in there. They might have vacation homes. They might have a business that requires notarization all the time. Every single appointment is an opportunity to build this business forever. And like I said in the beginning, this business, any business, favors action. And as you're taking action, it will blow your mind who you meet at these tables. Laura, did you have any additional feedback for Otley? Laura, if there was one person I would say stay off of mute, stay unmuted, it's you.
I guess I'll stay off of mute for the rest of the call. Is that there are a few states where it's a little more difficult to dance around that. North Carolina is one of those when it comes to general work. But most of the other states, there's enough freedom that you can charge for your services in a way that makes it worth it for you to participate in that. And I do think that there's a lot more to it than just the notarization fee and a travel fee. There are other things you can be thinking about because there's a lot more going on at that table than just notarizing.
Yeah, awesome. Does that help, Otley? Oh, I think we lost him. All right, thanks for being here. Terry Golden. Hello, you're going to be our last question today. So we got 1 minute. Terry Golden, if you're still here.
I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure can.
Okay, I have a question. I just found some papers here. Apparently, I signed up with Notary Depot and paid $96 and haven't done anything about it. Can you tell me something about it?
I have no idea who Notary Depot is. Laura, have you heard of them?
I remember doing it.
Well, I've only heard of them. I don't work with them or for them. I'm not sure if they're a registry or if they're actually a signing service.
Yeah, Matt says they're a directory site. So
yeah, they are.
Site. So all they wanted you to do was go in and put your information in, and they're just holding it. And hopefully somebody's looking for a notary and they find Notary Depot, and then
Right.
within Notary Depot, they would put in a zip code, and then you would come up with any
Right.
other notaries who are signed up. That's how any of
Okay.
them work. But here's what I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
Is that if nobody really knows about them, you're not going to get any business.
Of
from that.
course.
If you want to do the tried and true. Now, how you got signed up and you're not
I
sure.
have no
don't know.
idea.
It could be the free, but if you paid $96, then obviously they got money from you. I don't know how that happened.
I have no recollection of doing it, and I happened to just find it and printed it out, and I saw I did this. So maybe I did it in my sleep. I have no idea. I wasn't conscious, obviously.
Well, here's what might happen, Terry. A lot of times they'll offer you a free trial. You'll enter your credit card information. Maybe it's a 30-day free trial. By then
Maybe
you've
I did
forgotten
that.
about it and it just charges your card. That very well could be.
I'm going to look into it further.
And more than just for you, Terry, I'm going to say this for the benefit of everybody, guys. You got to be really careful right now. There's a lot of these directories
Sure.
popping up. And, you know, I don't like to talk negatively about any business out there because any startup doesn't have traction. It eventually will. But you got to be really careful because there's some of these companies that do not have integrity. So the general rule is, with the exception of just a few of these directory sites, if they require you to pay to play, then don't play. Don't play until you're generating revenue, until you've got time to do due diligence. Carrie Rivera has the notary reviews. She's got that list, and a lot of these directories are listed on there too. So you know who to avoid and who to work with. There's usually there's like 3 or 4 directories that are doing really good right now, and there's more on their way. There are, you know, they're owned by people who are committed to growth and helping you. But
Yes.
SEO, search engine optimization, is what you're looking for in a directory. And that takes a little bit of time. So I don't want to say that all directories are bad, because that's not true. There are some really great directories that might be just now starting, but you want to do your due diligence before you give them any money.
Thank you.
I have a warning, Bill.
Yeah,
It's Carol again. Can you hear me?
sure can.
I have a warning though. If you sign up with 123 Notary, do not pay a lot of money, because we have a major problem right now. A lot of our graduates have paid $400, $500, $600. They are being ousted from 123 Notary, and they are not getting their money back. I'm trying to encourage them to form a class action suit against them. Get a free listing. It's worth what you pay for, but don't pay a lot of money for it. I'm serious. And with that, I'm going to say goodbye. See you in Texas.
All right, Carol, have safe travel. Great move. Guys, that brings us up to closing time. I'm regretfully leaving so many hands up. I apologize. If you happen to be in Sign and Thrive, you know we do something similar to this in our office hours, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday mornings with no time limit. You get guaranteed to get your questions answered. If not, guys, please come in next week, same time, same place. Although, here's the reminder, guys, we have a time change. The daylight savings time is happening this Sunday, November 1st. So we will still be going at 12 p.m. Pacific time, but that's probably going to change for everybody else who's not in the Pacific time zone. So just so you know. And of course, the email reminders will still go out. If you haven't registered for this and you want those reminders, just go to notarycoach.com/TNT and get those. And one more ask, guys. I'm just going to add that link to register for my book preview team, because I'm going to need you. I'm going to be calling on you probably on November 5th and November 6th to help us launch that thing out. So thank you guys so much. Love being here with you. Carol, Laura, thank you so much for all the time you commit to us as well. See you guys next week.